Hi guys, it's your boy Shinobi Sage. Since the JJK manga is ending this year, I want to cover all of the arcs leading up to the final arc. This video will cover the perfect preparation arc. You guys already know the deal. There's jumpings, there's yapping, there's new characters introduced, and a whole bunch of bodies being dropped. If you're new to the channel, I've already covered the Itadori extermination arc in its entirety, so please be sure to check that out. So guys, sit back and enjoy, and welcome to the perfect preparation arc. Let's get it. Entangled in the malevolent culling game, Sumiki's life hangs in the balance. Faced with this harrowing decision, Megumi asks Yuji to cast aside his transgressions and join forces with him to save his sister. Reminded of his grandfather's last words to help others in need, Yuji comes up with a chilling compromise, and he turns to Yuta, asking him that if Sukuna should take over his body again, he should execute him. He has faith in Yuta's strength, and Yuta in turn agrees to do that if that ever happens. Megumi devises a strategy to meet up at Jujutsu High to seek guidance from Master Tengen. Their primary objective is to find out how to unseal Gojo and just what Noritoshi Kamo's plans for the future are. Yuji suggests in consulting Yuki, and Megumi says that he's already spoken to her. It's revealed that she's hiding in Jujutsu High to avoid the higher-ups. The major obstacle they now face, however, is Tengen's barrier. The barrier shuffles over 1,000 doors, with only one leading to the Tomb of the Star. But amidst the discussion, Yuji interrupts. He asks Megumi about Nobaru's fate, and Megumi, saddened, looks to the ground. Clenching his fists, Yuji looks to the ground while repeatedly saying, "I get it." Choso pops out of nowhere, making it known that he might have the solution to bypassing the barrier. Choso recalls how Mahito stole Sukuna's fingers and the death paintings from Jujutsu High, and he believes that they can replicate that again. So the four of them infiltrate Jujutsu High to rendezvous with Yuki and Maki. Maki's appearance has significantly changed, now sporting shorter hair and severe burns. Yuta, expressing concern for her, asks her if she could move, to which she replies yes. Yuki explains even with reverse curse technique, burn scars cannot be healed. Maki was able to survive Jogo's attack because of her heavenly restriction, but the same could not be said for Naruto. Maki said that she didn't intend for this look and asks Megumi about Tengen's barrier. Choso steps forward and explains, between the doors and the tomb lies a warehouse storing cursed tools and objects, the same warehouse which houses the rest of his brothers. With his curse technique, his connection to them will enable him to guide the group. With everyone on board, Maki asks about Choso's identity, and Yuji tells her to think of him as his big brother. Choso calls Yuji's name out of excitement while he leads the rest of the group outside of the room, leaving Choso in the back. Choso leads the group to the door. Beyond the doors lie a forested area filled with tall ancient trees. Yuki urges them to move ahead to an elevator leading to the tomb. As they pass by a warehouse, Choso stops for a moment, touching its doors and asking his brothers to wait a little longer for him to return. The group use the elevator to go down to the star corridor, and along the pathway, Yuji sees bloodstains on the ground and asks what happened. Yuki explains that it dates back to 11 years ago, when the distortion of the Jujutsu world began. The students are puzzled by what she meant, but she tells them that the main shrine is up ahead. Upon entering the shrine, they find themselves met with a white void, confusing everyone. Yuki says that Tengen is actively rejecting her presence. Normally detached from worldly affairs, Yuki thought that contact was now possible since the six eyes are now sealed. She thinks that Tengen's rejection might be directed solely at her as opposed to the rest. Megumi becomes tense, and Yuta says that they should head back, asserting that they can't afford to waste any more time and that they need to save Sumiki. A voice calls out asking why they're so quick to leave, and Master Tengen is finally revealed and says that it's a pleasure to meet the children of the Zenin, Michizane's descendant, the death painting womb, and Sukuna's vessel. Yuki asks Tengen why she wasn't greeted, and Tengen says this isn't their first meeting. Yuki then asks why the Tomb of the Star corridor was closed off, and Tengen explains that Yuki could have been aligned with Kenjaku, causing the master great fear. Tengen unveils the identity of Kenjaku, formerly known as Noritoshi Kamo, which now resides in Geto's body. Yuki cuts in on the discussion, asking about Tengen's appearance. Tengen's curse technique grants immortality but not anti-aging. Decades ago, when the new star plasma vessel failed to appear, the aging accelerated, leading to diminished self-awareness. This forced Tengen to evolve, becoming one with the world itself. Megumi and Yuta cut straight to the chase, asking Tengen about Kenjaku's objectives and how to unseal Gojo from the prison realm. Tengen agrees to share the information but imposes one condition. Choso, Yuki, and Yuta, two of them, must stay at the tomb to serve as Tengen's guards. Tengen discloses that Kenjaku aims to force the evolution of all those in Japan, but he can't do so using Tengen's barrier with idol transfiguration because that requires massive amounts of cursed energy and is highly inefficient to trigger such an evolution with a cursed technique. Kenjaku's method to trigger mass evolution involves merging Tengen with humanity. Because Tengen is now in an evolved state, it's possible to now merge with someone who isn't a star plasma vessel. A human who merges with Tengen transforms into something beyond the sorcerer, who can exist both within and outside the physical realm. Despite Tengen's ability to still stabilize in this current form, if mankind were to reach this evolved state, the world will come to a catastrophic end. There would be no boundaries between individuals, and millions of impurities from humans would flood out into the world. Tengen is unable to reject the merger due to being more cursed than human, becoming the perfect target for cursed spirit manipulation. The looming threat of Kenjaku's attempt to unseal the tomb has triggered a stringent rejection of anyone approaching the corridor. Kenjaku orchestrated his plan 11 years ago and was involved with Sukuna over thousands of years ago. Tengen, the star plasma vessel, and the Six Eyes are all connected by fate. Kenjaku was defeated by two Six Eyes users in the past. Following his second defeat, he resorted to killing both star plasma vessel and the next Six Eyes user upon their birth. Despite his efforts, they both emerged on the day of the merger with Tengen. This led to him altering his strategy, opting to seal the Six Eyes rather than trying to eradicate it. But an unforeseen turn of events transpired when Toji Fushiguro appeared, the man without cursed energy. Toji destroyed the destinies of Tengen, the star plasma vessel, and the Six Eyes. Alongside him emerged Suguru Geto, who had the ability to control cursed spirits. Once Kenjaku secured the prison realm 6 years ago, all his plans fell into place. The culling game is a ritual designed to prepare the people of Japan for the merger. By using the cursed energy of the players and the barriers, the goal is to convey everyone to the other side. In order to do this, Kenjaku restricted himself with binding vows. One vow is that he is not the master of the culling game, meaning killing him won't stop the game. The culling game can only conclude once all of the players are eliminated, with rules in place to prevent stopping the ritual. The group's best course of action is to spend 100 points to add rules allowing Sumiki and other unwilling participants to escape. Just before Tengen reveals how to free Gojo, they need to choose who will be the bodyguards. Yuki and Choso volunteer to protect Tengen, and Choso knows that Yuji will need Yuta or Yuki's help, and this will give him the chance to safeguard his brothers from Kenjaku. Yuki wants to continue her conversation with Tengen. With Yuta's approval, she opts to stay. Yuta, wanting to stay with the other students, agrees. In a gesture of gratitude, Tengen reveals to them the back of the prison realm. Tengen concealed it in an attempt to obscure the existence of the front gate, but Kenjaku was able to discover it and now wields complete control over the prison realm. In order to unlock the back gate, they would need either the inverted spear of heaven or the black rope, both of which can cancel out curse techniques, both of which Gojo had destroyed. While Yuta was in Africa, him and Miguel tried searching for more black rope, but it was a fruitless effort. Despite these challenges with the loss of those cursed tools, hope still remains. An incarnated sorcerer from 1,000 years ago, calling herself Angel, is now a participant of the culling game. Her curse technique can extinguish other curse techniques. Hanakurusu is the key to freeing Satoru Gojo. Megumi is surprised to hear about Hana's technique, and Tengen reiterates that Angel's technique is essential for unlocking the back of the prison realm. Megumi asks about her whereabouts, and he's informed that she's currently residing in the colony east side of Tokyo. There are 10 colonies connected by barriers that form a line down Japan. This line of barriers will merge everyone in Japan with Tengen and convey them into the other side. While the concept of evolving humanity by merging with Tengen seems complex, everyone in Japan has fallen victim to a curse in preparation for the impending merger, which is estimated to take only 2 months to complete. The first rule mandates that players must declare their participation in 19 days, and with it being 9 AM November 9th and all the players awakened around midnight on October 31st, Sumiki has 10 days and 15 hours left to participate. The second rule outlines that anyone who violates the first rule will face curse technique removal. Maki remembers her conversation with Shoko regarding the second rule, and Shoko speculated that this removal is different from idol transfiguration or a binding vow. It involves something that happens in the brain which would kill them. Otherwise, all of the players could just run off and not participate in the game. This means players like Maki who don't have curse techniques aren't at risk. The third rule states that entering a colony after the games have begun will automatically make you a participant. Civilians caught within a barrier are offered one chance to leave, and there are no rules about entering or leaving colonies. At the start of the game, players are given the goal of exiting the colony's barriers. This serves as an active way to produce involvement and get the players moving. To confine the players effectively, they must believe they entered the games willingly. The fourth rule is that players who kill each other score points, while the fifth rule outlines that each player's point value is determined by the point master. Sorcerers are worth 5 points, while non-sorcerers are only worth 1. Megami asks about the game master, and Tengen explains that each player receives a Kogane, which serves as the interface, while the game master serves as the program that backs it. Rule 6 permits that players spend 100 of their own points to introduce a new rule into the game. Rules cannot be subtracted, and with this, Megami deduces that they can possibly create stipulations to counteract the existing rules. Rule 7 dictates that the game master must accept any new rule as long as it doesn't have a lasting impact on the game. Concerns arise within the group about the fairness of the rules, but Tengen assures them that Kenjaku operates without any bias and that they will be treated fairly. The 8th and final rule is that a player will face curse technique removal if their score remains unchanged for 19 days. Yuji is left worried about having to kill others again, but Megami reassures him, saying that he has a few ideas. Maki takes charge and goes over everyone's roles for the future. Yuki and Choso will stay with Tengen. Maki will return to the Zenin clan to collect cursed tools for the upcoming fights. After Gojo was sealed, the Zenin and Kamo clans had taken all of the cursed tools from Jujutsu High's warehouse. Now that Megami is the clan head, Maki can now retrieve those tools. Maki then asks about Juzo's workshop, which she will go to first before getting Panda. Yuta decides to participate in the culling game immediately, offering to gather information before Sumiki and the others join, and he plans to avoid nearby colonies to prevent collateral damage. This would affect the earlier promise he made to Yuji, and they both start thinking about the best option, but Megami tells Yuji that Yuta can just kill him if he were to die, but Yuji wants to prevent that in the first place. Maki assigns Yuji and Megami their task, which is to find Hakari, the suspended third-year student, who is known for his extreme toughness. Yuta even goes as far as to say that when Hakari's riled up, he's stronger than him. As the group prepare for their mission, Yuji takes a moment to thank Choso for everything, and Choso tells him not to die. As soon as he leaves, Choso tries to hide his tears. At a comedy club, Fumihiko Takaba, a struggling 35-year-old comedian, fails to garner any laughs from an audience. His associate tells him that he should just quit comedy because he just isn't funny. Takaba's associate Ken says he doesn't mind his dumb jokes, and he suggests that there are two types of comedians that will always be in demand: those who are funny and those who believe they are funny. Ken asks him which type of comedian he thinks he is. Takaba says it's 50-50 at first, but then feels a strange impulse before changing his answer to 70-30. In the past, after Panda's creation, Gakuganji interrogates Yaga, who's confined in a cell. He says to Yaga that a cursed corpse normally operates through its cursed user's energy, but Panda is unique in that he's able to produce his own cursed energy. The higher-ups fear that Yaga could potentially create an army with his technique, and were at one time considering him as a special grade. Gakuganji asks about Panda's creation, but Yaga says he doesn't know how he was made. Cut to the present, Yaga is on the run, and one of his cursed dolls expresses concern, telling him that everyone is worried. Yaga tells him that he won't be returning anytime soon, and says that Master Tengen will protect the forest they're hiding in. He assures it that his mother will come and see him again. Yaga then opens a small door at the base of a tree, revealing a collection of cursed corpses, who all tell him that they'll miss him. At Jujutsu High, Panda is rescued by Kusakabe, who reveals that he's been caught as a bait to draw out Yaga. He's done this as a favor to repay Yaga back. In the past, Yaga created a curse corpse using the soul information of Kusakabe's nephew. His sister couldn't keep on living without her son's support. The doll is brought out, and it instantly identifies his mother. The woman recognizes her son's mannerisms and jumps out of her wheelchair overjoyed, hugging Takeru. This was before Panda's creation, and Yaga warns Kusakabe that he couldn't allow the cursed corpse to live with his mother, as the existence of a fully independent cursed corpse couldn't be revealed. Kusakabe apologizes and tells Yaga how grateful he is, thanking him for his effort. In the present, Yaga is confronted by an underling of the higher-ups. He asks where he's going without any cursed corpses, and Yaga calmly explains that he's going to see his son. The masked sorcerer asks Yaga he should reveal the process of creating cursed corpses. Masamichi replies by saying how bold his adversary adversaries have become since Gojo's not here. The masked man acknowledges that and tells him that he's accompanied by a veteran sorcerer. Emerging from the shadows, Gakuganji appears holding his guitar, dealing a fatal blow to Masamichi in the end. With his last words, Yaga shares the intricate details of creating independent curse corpses. Soul information can be replicated from physical information, then inputted into the core. These cores must hold 3 highly compatible souls into one curse corpse, with the 3 souls constantly observing each other. That will stabilize the souls, giving them self-awareness and self-sustaining cursed energy. In a moment of confusion and shock, Gakuganji asks why he revealed that information now. Masamichi responds by saying it's a curse for him. As Panda arrives, sadness permeates the air as Yaga dies. Gakuganji prepares for retaliation, but Panda, consumed by grief, walks past him. He questions why Panda didn't seek revenge. Panda responds, telling him he's not like humans and that their behaviors don't bind him. He knows that his actions were a result of the higher-ups and that they didn't hate each other. Tears fall for his father while pleading with Gakuganji to remember that even pandas cry. At the Zenin estate, Naoya mocks Maki about her injuries. He asks her that now, since her attractiveness is gone, whether he should go back to bullying her like he did before. He also follows up by asking if she's going to follow Yuta and Megumi around like a lapdog. Maki goes into an underground tunnel that leads to the cursed warehouse, but her mother warns her that they aren't allowed to enter. Maki shows her the keys and tells her that the clan head has granted her access. In a flashback, Maki reveals to Megumi that he's to be the clan head. Megumi tries to refuse it, but Maki insists that he does it. She emphasizes the benefits, such as inheriting the family fortune, the vast information about the big 3 families, and Jujutsu headquarters. Megumi suggests that she take over the clan, but she tells him that the clan just wouldn't accept her. She highlights how Megumi's inherited the 10 Shadows technique and has learned domain expansion. Megumi asks her if acceptance really matters if she became the clan head, but Maki doesn't believe she's good enough to make the clan suitable for Mai. After hearing this, Megumi understands. Maki walks past her mother while she screams, demanding her to stop and come back. Maki's mother asks her why she's always like this and tells Maki to make her proud for once to have given birth to her. Maki marches forward to the sealed doors of the cursed warehouse and opens them with the key. Just as Maki steps inside, she's shocked to see her father sitting inside with no curse tools in sight. Ogi reveals that he predicted Maki's actions, so he removed all of the curse tools. As he stands, an injured Mai calls her sister foolish for coming. Meanwhile, Junichi discusses with Naoya why Megumi is the preferable choice for the clan head. He outlines the positive relationships he has with Satoru Gojo and Noritoshi Kamo, but he also rejects the idea of him inheriting the entire fortune of the clan. Naoya suggests getting rid of him, but Junichi points out that this isn't a viable option. Killing Megumi would tarnish the reputation of the Zenin clan with the other 2 major clans, which would also lead to them falling behind in the power struggle after Gojo's sealing. Because of the notice from Jujutsu headquarters about unsealing Gojo, Junichi tells Naoya that they must capitalize on this by executing Megumi, Maki, and Mai as rebels plotting to free Gojo. Naoya, amused, wonders if Ogi can slay his own daughters, and Junichi discloses that this entire plan was Ogi's idea. Ogi activates Falling Blossom emotion, applying it to his sword. The decision to keep Mai alive was used as a bargaining chip, just in case Maki arrived with any unknown curse tools at her disposal. Aware of the contingencies, Ogi prepares for a heavy slash attack. Maki possesses Juzo's masterpiece craft, Dragon Bone, which has the ability to enhance its cutting power after accumulating force and cursed energy. Maki plans to take advantage of Ogi's ignorance about Dragon Bone and feign attacking, intending to strike back more than once. Ogi asks Maki why she thinks Nyobito was chosen over him as the clan head. She says if it's because he's willing to kill his own children. Their clash begins and Maki successfully blocks Ogi's slash. As she retaliates, the momentum built up from cursed energy bursts from the back of the blade, shattering Ogi's weapon. Maki then swiftly gets behind him, poised for the finishing blow, but Ogi's reactions are quick and he counters Maki with his curse technique. Ogi brutally cuts her down, leaving Maki with a sliced abdomen and a slashed eye. Maki, confused, realizes that Ogi's blade has been replaced by the flames of his curse technique. Ogi sheds a tear, revealing that the reason he couldn't become the clan head is because he deems his children as worthless. Ogi drags Maki and Mai down a corridor towards a room. Maki lost to Ogi because she faced him as a swordsman rather than a sorcerer. He calls her worthless, and he repeats that he didn't become the clan head because of the ability of his children. Naobito's projection sorcery doesn't have much of a history in the clan other than passing it down to Naoya, so it wasn't a decisive factor in the outcome. The only difference between the two of them is the strength of their children. Ogi tells his daughters not to hold back their parents, and he throws them down a staircase into a training and discipline room. Countless voices of grade 2 and lower cursed spirits fill the room, and Ogi tells them that the curses will devour them both as soon as he leaves the room. He then belittles Maki's heavenly restriction, saying that it's inferior compared to a sorcerer's training in reinforcing their bodies with cursed energy. Ogi bids a farewell to his daughters and leaves the room. As the curses approach, Mai places Maki's head on her lap and is relieved to find her heart still beating. Mai suspected how this would happen someday. She then opens Maki's mouth, attempting to resuscitate her. Maki wakes up in a dreamlike space on the beach. Beside her is Mai, who tells her that she's going to use her construction technique to create something. Once she makes this thing, she will die due to her injuries. Mai gets up and walks to the shore, bidding a final goodbye to Maki, wishing her twin good luck. Maki desperately begs for Mai to come back. Mai unveils the painful truth that she knew that twins are a bad omen for sorcerers. To gain something, one must offer something. In this sense, suffering has made them stronger, but in the Jujutsu world, twins are treated as a singular entity. Mai reveals that even if Maki wanted to get stronger, she can't because Mai doesn't want to get stronger. As long as she remains, Maki is destined to be incomplete in her self-development. Fearing the loss of her sister, she rushes into the water after Mai, asking her to return, but Mai extends her hand, instructing Maki to throw the rest away. Mai will take all of the cursed energy between them when she dies, but in return, she asks Maki to promise her one thing: to destroy everything. Back in reality, Maki notices she's holding a sword in her hand, resting next to Mai's lifeless body. She tearfully cries out to her sister to wake up as the curses start to close in. Ogi senses something wrong and immediately turns around, noticing that the cursed spirits have been exorcised. He spots Maki in the shadows. A deep-seated fear races through his body, a memory he has long wanted to suppress. Maki has now become a harrowing reminder of Toji Zenin. His eyes widen with terror and he triggers his innate technique, enveloping his broken katana in flames. He threatens to reduce her to ash and she effortlessly beheads him. Maki then grips her curse tool, telling Mai it's time to get started. Alarm bells start blaring, reverberating through the entire estate. Junichi and Naoya halt their meeting. Ranta Zenin finds them, delivering the shocking news that Maki has killed Ogi. The both are shocked that Ogi fell to her. The Kukuru unit receives orders to apprehend Maki, and the captain Nobuaki Zenin dismisses Maki's strength, believing she must have killed Ogi in his sleep or in the bathroom. The captain commands his unit to handle the situation. The Kukuru unit are a lower branch comprising of Zenin men lacking innate techniques, who undergo arduous hand-to-hand combat training day and night. The unit locates Maki and surrounds her. Maki stands alone, consumed by the thoughts of her sister, and she reflects on the choices they made, questioning whether they should have given up on becoming sorcerers. She contemplates that maybe that would have been the best choice for them, apologizing to Mai, but she remembers her final words to destroy everything. Maki's eyes widen and she severs one of her attacker's hands, afterwards slicing another member's head. Despite their overwhelming numbers, the Kukuru unit is no match for Maki's unparalleled strength. Maki ruthlessly continues to cut down each of the members, mercilessly leaving a trail of corpses in her wake. The captain arrives to find Maki totally unscathed. Maki detects a surge of cursed energy and massive stone hands erupt from the ground, tossing Maki in the air before clapping together to crush her. Chojuro, Junichi and Ranta, the strongest members of the Zenin, arrives, comprised of semi-grade 1 or higher ranking. Maki breaks free from the stone hands and thrusts herself at Nobuaki and Chojuro, who attempt to stop her. She pierces their throats with her hands, killing them in an instant. In a desperate move, Ranta uses his paralysis technique to immobilize Maki, urgently calling Junichi to finish her off, but Maki forcibly releases herself from his hold. She relentlessly attacks his technique, inflicting damage on his eyes. Despite the profuse bleeding from his eyes, Ranta compares Maki's power to Toji's and warns that if they don't stop her here and now, she'll bring about the destruction of the clan. Junichi uses his technique, launching multiple giant cursed energy fists from the sky, pummeling everything in sight. Ranta, believing they have succeeded, collapses from his injuries. Maki emerges from the dust, holding Junichi's severed head, walking past Ranta, tossing Tossing his head into the pond, Naoya tauntingly confronts her, asking if she has a human heart. Maki tells him no, because her heart was taken from her. As a child, Naoya received constant praise and coddling from his clan, earning a reputation as a genius. The clan held high expectations, with many anticipating him to be the next leader, but there was a black sheep in the family, a person who lacked cursed energy. Naoya goes out of his way to see this person's miserable state. His eyes gaze upon Toji and he's physically shaking by the cold, focused and indifferent look in his eyes. Naoya sends a number of rapid punches at Maki, who blocks most of it while counting his lightning fast movements. He then seizes her, freezing her in a frame, and with extreme velocity he kicks her through multiple stone structures. Continuing his attack, he says to himself that Maki is not Toji. Ordinary people are ignorant of what true strength is. Toji's true nature was misunderstood, and he believes that only Gojo was able to understand. Naoya continuously overwhelms Maki with his insane high-speed movements, one after another. Projection sorcery doesn't allow the user to disregard the laws of physics or trajectories. There are upper limits on acceleration when the technique is activated, but maintaining the technique allows for a continuous increase in speed. He intends to pierce Maki at a high velocity, having already surpassed supersonic speeds. Maki remains injured from the previous battles. She takes a stance, welcoming head-on collision with Naoya. She prepares to absorb the impact, even if it means sacrificing a few ribs. Naoya sees through this and tags her with his palm. This forces Maki to adhere to the 24 frames per second rule. Failure to do so means being frozen in a frame for 1 second. Naoya sees Maki as nothing more than an imposter, while she remains frozen. In a triumphant reversal, Maki lunges at him, revealing that her new body allowed her to see Naoya moving 24 times per second. She then delivers a powerful punch, smashing his face to the ground and ending the fight. Maki finds her mother in the kitchen, frantically telling her to get away, while Maki wants to know why she told her to come back. Distressed, she's unable to recall, and as Maki approaches her, she yells out before blood is splattered on the wall. Amidst the countless bodies left at the premises, Naoya, heavily injured, is still alive. He staggers to the floor, still mocking Maki for not finishing him off, but her mother appears behind him. Naoya, who is unable to use curse energy, is fatally stabbed in the back. As they both die, Maki's mother expresses her gratitude to have given birth to twins. Maki carries Mai's body and Momo arrives too late. Mai had left Kyoto despite Momo's warnings. Maki hands over her body to Momo, who asks her what she's going to do now, but Maki silently walks away while holding Mai's sword in her hand. The official record reports that the Zenin clan members who were not present at the estate on that day all met violent deaths, with no traces of cursed energy other than the residuals of a curse tool. The Gojo and Kamo clans proposed removing the Zenin clan from the big three sorcerer families, but Jujutsu headquarters has currently put the verdict on hold. Yuji and Megumi obtain Hakari's whereabouts from Master Tengen before leaving, and they find out that Hakari is operating as a bookie for an underground fight club. The fight club pits sorcerers against one another in hand-to-hand combat, completely violating Jujutsu regulations regarding secrecy. The boys then change their uniforms, and Megumi mentions that Hakari was suspended from Jujutsu High, and if he recognizes them as students, he might not associate himself with them. Despite Hakari's uncertainty to help them, they approach him regardless for his assistance in the culling game. The two reach the entrance, encountering both a manager and a bodyguard. The guard warns them both to leave or face the consequences, but Megumi stands his ground. The guard throws a punch that stops before hitting Megumi's face, and he demands to know who revealed the information about the club to Megumi, threatening to beat him up if he doesn't comply. Megumi claims that he didn't learn the person's name before killing them, revealing it was a cocky sorcerer who disappeared about a month ago. The manager vaguely remembers a person disappearing around that exact time. Megumi asks to take that person's place and warns that he'll lay the bodyguard flat if they refuse. The manager receives approval from the boss to add an extra fighter to the tournament, but Yuji is selected to be the fighter. The manager says that the boss doesn't like Megumi. He looks up to the camera and accepts the condition. As they leave, Yuji tells Megumi about his risky bluff, but Megumi disagrees, saying that a club with cursed users must have frequent turnover, but that is irrelevant as they were able to confirm that Hakari is present and was watching them through the cameras. The plan now is for Yuji Yuji to establish contact with Hakari from the inside, while Megumi will try to sneak in from the outside. The risk is high as the club is already aware of Megumi. Their suitable course of action is for Megumi to wait while Yuji goes in. Megumi is anxious and doesn't want to waste any time before Sumiki's deadline for the culling game. Yuji revisits the parking garage and the security guard from earlier briefs him on how the tournament works. There are two rules: no retreating and no jujutsu. The prohibition against running away is to ensure that the fights occur within the sight of spectators. Yuji asks what the boss is like, and the bodyguard explains that he will know if he meets him, and he goes on further saying that there are two types of matches: scripted and unscripted. Scripted matches are manipulated by Hakari, and putting on a show in an unscripted match is likely to get his attention. Yuji reaches the fighting area and is introduced to his opponent. The Fight Club announcer kicks off the tournament by introducing the fighters. The newcomer, Yuji Itadori, against none other than Panda. In the monitoring room, Hakari and Kirara prepare to watch the fight. Hakari is annoyed that things are starting to cool off. He says that there's no fun in knowing who's winning in an unscripted fight, believing that no one can beat Panda. But Kirara points to the television. Yuji and Panda work together to put on an entertaining fight. While throwing hands, Yuji and Panda exchange information, and Panda says that he's been allowed into the Fight Club, but Hakari and Kirara avoid him. Panda realizes that Yuji is hiding his identity and signals him to conclude the fight. Yuji delivers a powerful body shot where Panda exaggerates his reaction to make it seem convincing, leading Yuji to being declared the winner. Hakari is impressed by Yuji's fighting ability and he calls for him to be brought to his office. He plans to strike while the iron is hot, wanting to write scripts for Yuji's future fights. Megumi uses his curse technique to hide himself, eavesdropping on the conversation. The man asks about the other kid and Hakari decides to have Kirara monitor him. Yuji excites Hakari, making him on edge again since the days of his ex-girlfriend and maxing out his credit cards. Panda leaves the parking garage, encountering Megumi and asking him if he thinks Yuji can make contact with Hakari. Megumi expresses optimism, but he questions why Panda hasn't met Hakari himself. Panda responds by saying that he's aware of Hakari's location, but he can't get close because of Kirara's curse technique. The distance between him and the door remains constant, which reminds him of Gojo's infinity. Megumi asks him if the effect is only active when Kirara is in the monitoring room, but Panda is uncertain because they're always together. Panda chose to attract spectators so that he would avoid getting on Hakari's bad side, but Megumi remains uneasy about Yuji's ability to convince Hakari. If Hakari finds out that Yuji is from Jujutsu High, he'll just get booted out. However, Panda wants to secure the area and monitor the door to prevent this outcome, but this may involve taking care of the security guards. He knows where the cameras are, their blind spots and the lookouts. Megumi acknowledges that they might just have a solid plan. After winning another fight, Yuji texts Megumi that he's about to meet Hakari. The lookouts maintain their positions while Kirara brings Yuji to Hakari. Megumi discreetly through the shadows incapacitates the first guard, rendering him unconscious. The second guard passes by without noticing and Megumi quickly slides into the shadow and knocking him out with a choke, staying within the camera's blind spot. At the same time, Panda distracts two guards by playing with a tire and uses that to knock them both out. Panda joins Megumi on the roof, and as they move to guard the monitor room, Kirara unexpectedly walks out to the lower level of the room below them. Both surprised, they wonder why Kirara isn't with Hakari, and Kirara sees them, realizing them as fellow students from Jujutsu High. Fearing for Hakari's safety, Kirara reaches out for the phone to call him, and Megumi quickly summons Divine Dog. Just as Divine Dog attempts to restrain Kirara, it's mysteriously sent flying back to Megumi, and Megumi sees that Kirara's curse technique prevented the Divine Dog from getting close. As Kirara heads to the monitor room, Panda tries to explain that they're not enemies, but Kirara believes that Panda has betrayed them, and as a result, Panda is unable to get close, so Megumi orders the Divine Dog to block the path, but Megumi is suddenly pulled towards the Shikigami. It dawns on him that besides not being able to reach Kirara, he's now unable to separate from Divine Dog. As he tries to figure out the mechanics of the technique, neither he or Panda notices the symbol marked on their backs. Inside the monitor room, Hakari meets Yuji for the first time, and he asks Yuji if he believes he could make 1,000,000 yen a month by working an hour a day. Confused, Yuji asks what he would need to do, but Hakari tells him he would need to pay him 200,000 yen for that. Yuji refuses and Hakari agrees, telling him that it's a classic con. Despite it being a scam, Hakari notes how a lot of people will still fall for it because of the fever. Both the deceiver and the deceived are driven to make changes in their lives. The fever fuels people's irrational decisions, but people can't even fall in love without it. Hakari loves the fever and he asks Yuji about the most direct way to engage with it. Yuji correctly says that it's gambling, and Hakari Hakari tells him that lots of girls dumped him in the past because of his love for gambling. Hakari points out that life itself is a gamble, asserting that society condemns those who can't quit, but everyone gambles. What people hate is losing. Hakari reveals his plan to control nationwide fever by using his fight club, taking advantage of the changes to Jujutsu regulations since the existence of curses was made public. Hakari seeks strong allies for the future and invites Yuji to join him in the fever. Before Yuji prepares to bring up Jujutsu High, they're interrupted by a phone call. Hakari lets it ring, seemingly ignoring the call. He then offers Yuji a drink despite him being underage. He brings up that Gojo can't drink either, and Yuji pretends to not know who that is. Hakari finishes his drink and confronts Yuji, asking if he's a spy. Before Yuji can speak, Hakari throws his glass at him and activates his curse technique, summoning 2 sliding doors that attempt to close Yuji in. Yuji jumps over them and tries to speak with him, but Hakari continues his attack. Hakari reveals that when he gets a call from Kirara, something must be up. Yuji recalls Megami's advice on seeking Hakari's cooperation, so Yuji headbutts him, asking him to listen. But the third year refuses, stating that his fever is now running cold. Kirara faces a stalemate against Megami and Panda, and Megami talks to Kirara, saying that they're not affiliated with Jujutsu High. Megami asks about what happened between them and the higher-ups, and Panda explains that the conservative members tend to prefer simpler, more conventional techniques, but a technique like Hakari's is looked down upon. Kirara says that Jujutsu High lost because of their misplaced priorities, emphasizing the over-reliance they have for Gojo. Megami discloses that Gojo has been sealed, but Kirara doesn't believe Megami, so Megami summons Rabbit Escape, thinking if he can just convince Kirara, it would lead to smoother negotiations with Hakari. Megami sees each of his rabbits has been marked with a symbol, but they are still unable to approach the monitor room because the door has another symbol on it. Megami disperses his rabbits across the roof to assess their movement, but Kirara's curse technique repels them. Kirara's curse technique marks cursed energy, registering both the sorcerer and the Shikigami as the same, so Kirara believes Megami will attract all the rabbits and suffocate, but he dispels them and asks Panda what he thought about Rabbit Escape. Panda confirms that the Shikigami were attracted to him and the second floor, but couldn't reach Kirara or the door. Both Panda and Megami have each been marked with symbols, and even though Megami doesn't understand what's going on, he's sure of one thing, that Kirara's technique is likely based on a constellation of stars. As they make eye contact, Megami suggests that the technique might be based on the Southern Cross. Kirara, frustrated, realizes that Megami wasn't sure about the curse technique's motif, but the reaction gave it away. Aware that Megami could figure out how the technique works and reach the door, Kirara resolves to prevent that from happening at any cost. Megami silently thanks Sumiki for teaching him about the Southern Cross, even though he still lacks comprehensive knowledge about it. Him and Panda are able to get close and discuss Kirara's technique. At first, Megami thought the technique assigned each person a point on the cross to maintain distance, but this can't be the case since Kirara can approach the door. Realizing that the technique might be a determined route with a sequential order, Panda suggests that the technique doesn't affect the user, but Megami counters this by pointing out that Divine Dog couldn't reach Kirara earlier. If Kirara and the doors have repelling power, Kirara could have just escaped into the monitor room, but instead chooses to stay outside. Megami and Panda both surmise this means the Southern Cross has 5 or more points. If there were only 4 stars, one of them should be able to approach Kirara. Since that's not the case, there must be a 5th star between them. Kirara goes on the offensive, jumping on the hood of the car and marking it, sending it straight to Panda. Panda barely catches it and he urges Megami to find the star. Panda tosses the car, but Megami warns him not to do that, and the car attracts back to him, hitting Panda in the head. Megami deduces that the curse technique requires direct contact by the user, and in order to mark objects like the car and the door, they need to be charged with someone else's cursed energy. Megami tries identifying the cursed energy residuals on the car and finds some that are not from Kirara. He assumes that the technique has limited range and searches for more residuals, eventually finding the 5th star. Megami touches the parking stop and doesn't notice any residuals, so he believes Kirara can't use cursed energy to mark another object with the Acrux symbol, but to his shock, Megami finds objects with the Acrux symbol hurtling towards him. Kirara's innate technique is called Love Rendezvous, which is a technique marking 5 stars in a Southern Cross motif to target cursed energy. The stars must follow a determined path for one to approach another, otherwise one of the targets with the same star will attract it. Megami was marked with Acrux, so he must travel through Mimosa and onwards to reach the door. Kirara is impressed that Megami was able to figure out the technique, but Megami was too quick to assume more objects couldn't be thrown at him. Kirara states that they can remove from their cursed energy and mark other things with the Akrux symbol instead. Divine Dog appears behind Kirara, immobilizing them, and Kirara realizes that Megumi never dispelled his Shikigami. Megumi was able to guess which of them with the star would attract the other, so he positioned a wall between them. He waited until Kirara was directly between them and then unjammed the dog from the wall. Kirara cancels Love Rendezvous and Megumi restrains them on the ground, simply asking Kirara to listen to what he has to say. Megumi dispels Divine Dog and begs Kirara to listen. Still skeptical, Kirara asks Megumi if he really thought Divine Dog could restrain them. Megumi admits that he took the gamble, but explains that the one with the higher cursed energy output does the attracting. Megumi releases Kirara, pleading with them to urgently listen. Just as Kirara decides to listen to him, Yuji is sent flying outside of the monitor room. Hakari walks outside angry and irritated, and Yuji tells Megumi and Panda to stay out of this, and Hakari thinks that he's been underestimated. In response, he throws a devastating punch, smashing Yuji's face in. Hakari notices that Yuji isn't resisting, and the younger sorcerer gets back on his feet. Unlike the war zone that was Shibuya, Yuji won't back down until Hakari breaks. His lack of resistance convinces Hakari that he's not a spy, and agrees to hear him out as long as he's able to remain standing. Charging himself with cursed energy, Kirara urges Hakari to listen, concerned about Yuji's condition. Hakari questions Yuji why he's asking for him specifically. Yuji says that all his senpai said he was strong. Hakari punches Yuji again, and Yuji compares Hakari's reinforced punches to being hit with a serrated bat. Hakari, annoyed, yells at Yuji, stating that sorcerers who ask for favors is like asking someone to risk their life. Hakari demands that Yuji proves right here and now that he has the fever to convince him. Yuji claims that he doesn't have any fever and describes himself as a mere cog in the machine of sorcerers, dedicated to eliminating cursed spirits. Hakari finds the answer extremely boring and prepares to punch him again, delivering yet another powerful punch, sending Yuji flying into the wall. Hakari reveals that Gojo mentioned how his cursed energy has an edge to it, hence why it has the cutting sensation that Yuji was feeling. Hakari tells Megumi and Panda to grab Yuji and leave, but Yuji reappears behind him. Hakari is genuinely surprised, wondering how Yuji is still standing. He questions him about what he is, and Yuji repeats that he's just a cog. Yuji believes his sole purpose is getting rid of curses, and since Hakari is necessary for that, he won't stop until he agrees. Yuji then confronts Hakari, looking him in the eye, asking him as a senpai what his function is. Hakari thinks to himself if Yuji's face is the look of a cog in fever. Kirara questions Hakari whether Yuji's fever burned hot enough for him yet. Hakari realizes the undeniable truth, saying that the fever never lies. Hakari then agrees to hear Yuji out and tells Megumi that he'll cut a deal with them. Megumi and Panda are utterly confused, unable to comprehend how things were resolved. He asks Kirara if what they said convinced Hakari, and Kirara confirms it. Kirara reveals that while they still hate the higher-ups, Hakari's fever burned the hottest when he was helping people at Jujutsu High. Hakari is completely shocked to learn that Gojo got sealed, with Panda adding that Yaga died in a fight with the higher-ups after Shibuya, which surprises everyone. Hakari expresses his frustration about the fact that everyone who took care of him is now gone. Hakari agrees to help them in the culling game, but he tells them not to get any misunderstandings. This is a deal and they must return the favor in the future. Panda knows that Hakari wants to see reforms in Jujutsu regulations. Megumi suggests that whatever it is won't be difficult. Hakari mocks Megumi and asks what he could possibly do, prompting Megumi to reveal that he's the head of the Zenin clan. Hakari finds that news even more stunning. He sees the opportunity to leverage the influence of the big three families to facilitate the revisions of Jujutsu regulations, but there could be a risk of the Zenin clan taking control of the Fight Club. So he puts on a friendly face and asks Megumi to be friends, but the next day Maki annihilated the clan. With everyone in agreement, Yuji begins discussing who's going to which colony. Suddenly, Kogane interrupts with a loud announcement. A player has added a new rule to the game, which allows players access to the information of other players, like their name, points, number of rules added, and their current colony. The rule was added by Hajime Kashimo, an elite player from Tokyo Colony number 2. After killing a player, Hajime is dissatisfied with the current players he's encountered, considering them all weaker than those he fought 400 years ago. Hungry for a challenge, he's curious about where Sukuna is. Megumi doesn't understand why Yuji is already considered a player before entering a colony. Yuji then remembers what Kenjaku spoke about after initiating the culling game, and he suspects that it might be related to Sukuna. He theorizes that his involvement with Kenjaku is probably how he became a cursed object, but Megumi points out that it's still strange since Yuji consumed Sukuna's finger of his own will, unlike the past sorcerers who forged contracts with Kenjaku. Yuji requests Kogane to display his player information, while Megumi uses the list to find Kashimo's name. Megumi believes that the best way to navigate the culling game without killing anyone is by forcing someone with enough points to add a rule. The two players that they must target are Hajime Kashimo and Higuruma Hiromi to save Sumiki. The first rule they need to add must counter Rule 8, which involves curse technique removal. Megumi proposes adding a rule allowing players to transfer points between each other. Then they can add another rule that allows players to spend points to voluntarily exit the game. The team now has a plan. Their objectives are as follows: locate Angel to undo the seal on the prison roll and hunt down Kashimo and Higuruma. Hi guys, thank you to everybody who checked out this video, man. This video took pretty long to make, so I appreciate it if you just like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. I'm currently working on the culling game, so guys, keep an eye out for that when it comes out. Comment down below how you felt about the arc as a whole, as well as how you thought about the video, man. As always guys, stay blessed.